I need to get everyone checked in. And so I'm going to go through just based on the orientation of my screen and get everyone checked in. So I see that we have someone under the name Evan's iPad. As I call your name, if you could unmute for me and then tell me what your name is and who you're representing here today, whether you're a member of the public, an adjacent property owner, someone involved with the project. Just give me an idea of who you are and who you represent. So Evan, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, my name is Evan Hildebrand, and I am an adjacent property owner. Live very close to the Parkland.
Okay, great. Welcome. I see that we have Christina Kroger. Christina Kroger, are you with us? If you could go ahead, take yourself off of mute, give me confirm that is your name and tell me who you're representing today. Okay, we'll give Ms. Kroger another minute. I see we have a Swanee F.
Okay, I'm here. I couldn't figure it out.
Okay. Hi, could you tell me, is Christina Kroger your name and spelled correctly on the screen?
Yes, that's my name, and I live across from the firehouse and the Parkland.
Okay. Welcome.
All right, thank you.
Sure. And Swanee F. Okay, unfortunately, sorry, I am not able to hear you. Your audio does not appear to be working. I see that you are off mute, but for some reason, I'm not picking up any sound on your microphone. So still nothing. So I'll give you an opportunity to try to work that out. I'm going to keep moving along here. So we have Carol Oblinger. So we'll need you to unmute if you could, and name and who you represent. Okay, we'll give Ms. Oblinger a minute. Ed Miller.
Yes, hello, it's Ed Miller.
Hi, Ed. And you are the owner, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I noticed that you're in a vehicle. I would ask that during this hearing that you are not operating that vehicle in any way or moving the vehicle during the hearing?
Yes, I'm
okay,
parked.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, welcome. I see we have Leo Yakutis.
Yakutis. Leo Yakutis.
Okay.
Adjacent property owner.
All right, thank you. All right, I have a Rob F.
Hi, that's me, Rob Fetters. I'm a property owner, less than 100 yards.
Could you spell your last name for me, Rob?
F as in Frank, E-T-T-E-R-S.
All right, great. Welcome. I see that we have two members of the City of Cincinnati Zoning Department, Matt Leschide and Emily A. House. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, David. Good morning.
Sure. I have a Dennis Hickey here. Dennis, are you with us? If so, if you could unmute, confirm that is your name.
That is my name, Dennis Hickey. I'm just here representing Sailor Park Village Council.
Okay.
Sorry, I got booted off here 3 times, but I'm back.
Yeah, not really sure why that happened, but if that does happen, just continue to try to log in. Maybe even try to log in from a different device. Sometimes using a cell phone can be helpful if it's on a different network. But if you get knocked out and try to sign in, I'll let you back in as soon as I see that you're in the waiting room. Okay, welcome. All right, I'm going to come back and try Miss Oblinger, Carol Oblinger. Have you figured out how to unmute? Okay. Well, so I'll continue to give you some time. If you wanted to participate in the hearing or do more than just observe, and you're not able to figure out how to unmute to provide testimony, I would encourage you to send me an email with your suggested testimony if you haven't already, so that I can take that into account. Otherwise, I would just try to unmute. I'm not sure exactly on the phone applications where the unmute button is, but it's usually somewhere towards the bottom of the screen. So I'll give you an opportunity to continue to try and do that. I'll go back to Swanee F as well. Were you able to get your microphone working?
Yes, I'm sorry, it was my headphones. I am Susan Fetters, Fetters, and I am a homeowner on Twain Avenue.
Okay, great. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. We do have someone that looks like they're trying to join by phone, 937 number. Are you there? If so, if you could unmute. Okay, may just be listening in. All right, well, let's go ahead now that everyone is checked in. Let's go ahead and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we will jump right into it. So this is the September 13th, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'll be presiding over the hearing. The case before us today is case number ZHUV230007. That's 6550 Parkland Avenue. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. I'm going to pause on this reading to allow someone in. Looks like another phone. Anyone who just logged in on a phone would like to unmute and let me know who they are. Can do that now. Okay. I'll keep moving on here. So the hearing will proceed as follows, and I'm going to go a little out of our normal order. I am going to ask the zoning department to outline exactly what relief is being requested from the applicant and owner before we get started, to sort of set the stage so that everyone understands exactly what is being requested to be approved today. I'm then going to turn over to the applicant and the owner to present their case, tell me about the project, why they believe that it's appropriate and why I should grant this relief. I will then go to the public. And so anyone from the public will have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. The rules only envision that each member of the public gets one opportunity to speak. So please, tell me everything you would like to during that opportunity. I will then go to the zoning department to provide a review of their staff report or any other testimony they believe is relevant to the discussion today. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, which I anticipate we will have testimony in opposition to this application, that will entitle the applicant to then rebut that testimony or respond to any of the testimony that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties, again, I'm going to do my best to troubleshoot these on the fly, as we've seen already with a couple. But if there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing. That'll be at my discretion. Okay, let's see. The last thing I need to do is to swear in all of our witnesses. And I typically will do this collectively with everyone at the same time. And so if you know that you would like to provide some testimony here today, really do anything other than just strictly observe. So a question, a comment, anything than just observing today, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, if you could go ahead and take yourself off of mute now, I'm going to collectively swear in all of those people. I'll need everyone to be off mute and to raise their right hand. And to answer this question out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right. Mr. Lascheid, would you mind providing an overview of what the requested relief is here today?
Sure, no problem. The applicant, being the Parkland Theater Building, is requesting to add a 150 square foot outdoor patio along the sidewalk underneath the Parkland marquee sign, and then add a garage door in the front to access it. The property is located within a single-family residential zoning district, and that single-family zoning district does not permit the use of a restaurant. So to expand this use, they need what's called a use variance. Additionally, any outdoor dining area that's within 100 feet of a residential zoning district requires conditional use approval, which would trigger a hearing like this. Because the property is located within a residential district, it needs conditional use approval for outdoor dining. And the zoning code requires a certain number of parking spaces for any business. And because they are expanding the business by 150 square feet, the zoning code would require that they add one more parking space. So they would need a variance of the parking requirement in order to expand the business, but not add a parking space.
Okay, great. And Matt, just one point of clarification there. This is an existing eating and drinking establishment, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so this is not to continue that use. This is just simply to allow the patio of the existing eating and drinking establishment. Is that right?
Yes, to expand the footprint of an existing use.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you very much for that, Matt. All right. I'm going to now turn over. Mr. Miller would you, or I'm sorry, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay, so yeah, as you just said, we are looking to expand underneath the marquee. The sidewalk is over 11 feet. We're looking to take some of that, obviously, put a railing up, and this will be a nice, attractive railing that will take some of the sidewalk to be able to put like 2 or 3 or 4 round cocktail tables outside, weather permitting. That would allow the community to be able to, a lot of walkers there, a lot of people with pets, they'll be able to go around to be able to come in and maybe enjoy some food or a drink while they're, with their dogs, or even perhaps smokes. It's indoor smoking is not allowed, but that garage door will give it a nice aesthetic look. Right now, it's a concrete wall that I believe my uncle filled in. It used to be existing doors. Those were doors going into the theater years and years ago, way before I can remember. But I believe my uncle filled that in with who's the prior owner, who filled that in with concrete, and it now has a broken air conditioner wall unit stuck in that wall, and none of that works. It's just a concrete square. I thought it'd be very much for the community to have the aesthetics of a nice brand new garage door that could be opened, weather permitting, and allow some outdoor seating. Again, the establishment's been a pub for many, many, many years, as well as entertainment with the theater, etc. And the impact of this is really the neighbors on Parkland. So you look directly to the left, there's a house there, and Brandon comes over to the pub a lot. And he is okay with that, as well as across the street there is a apartment building. They come as well, and everybody seems to be very supportive there on Parkland Avenue. So really, there's no outdoor speakers. There's nothing like that. There will still be the sidewalk. So obviously, 5 foot of the sidewalk will still remain to the public, and it's just something that will be part-time to allow outdoor dining and to be able to allow some fresh air in. Most places, you see this a lot. I got the idea from going to Clifton and Hyde Park and a lot of the other nice areas around the town that have this type of capability for their establishments to be able to do that. One of the things I can tell you about my pub, since I've taken the pub over in March, I've always owned the building for 25 years, but I've always leased out the pub. And when I took that back after the leasee has left, we have changed the hours. We're really open till midnight on Saturday and Friday, and we really close down at 10 other days. And we basically have cleaned up a lot of the activity that was going on in that bar prior. There was many incidents of rowdiness, etc. That people can go look up if they want. And obviously there's been zero of that since I've taken over in March, and got a lot of support from the community about how much everything is cleaned up. And appreciate the efforts I've done with investing a lot of money in that building for the sake of the community.
Okay. You mentioned hours of the establishment. I assume that those will be consistent with the hours of use of the outdoor area as well. So is that 10 o'clock on weeknights and midnight on weekends? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's currently the plan. Yes, I obviously the liquor license goes to 2:30 a.m. and the old pub used to stay open that late. I don't. I like to close it, and there's a lot of times where we close early too. There's nobody there or whatnot. We sometimes shut up early, but yeah, definitely it is not. I would not be interrupting anybody or having any of my people that are working there to interrupt anybody and to be any type of a nuisance to anybody in the area. Like I said, the area is really impacting. It's really impacting Parkland way more than Twain. But yeah, the Parkland area right across the street, and of course, right to the left, there's 4 or 5 houses to the left, and there's 4 or 5 houses across the street, along with a multifamily. I believe it's 8 units.
Okay. How long has the Parkland Theater structure been an eating and drinking establishment?
I don't know that exactly, but I can tell you that the building was built in 1881. It had a fire and took off a 3rd floor back in 1896. And I know it did silent movies. I know the marquee was put up right around the 1930s, 1940s, and that used to have a ticket booth outside. So where that wall is now, there used to be a octagon ticket coop booth where people would come underneath the marquee. That's why the marquee is located on Parkland and not Twain. And you would come in underneath the marquee, go get your ticket, walk in double doors, and go down a long hallway into the theater area. Years ago, it was sectioned off where the bar was separate. And the wall was put in place, and that was no longer an entrance into the theater. And they used the old exit of the theater on Twain Avenue as the entrance into the theater. So that's what I was going to do, is open up that opening that used to be open and had double doors in there, and be able to put a door there to not only allow for access, for outdoor dining and whatnot, but also let people come in and, make that ADA as well, to be able to have, like a ramp there where basically, you wouldn't have any steps at all. Currently, there is a small, tiny step to get into the theater up the ramp on Twain, and there's a small step to get into the pub at the corner of Parkland and Twain.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. So, a lot of the correspondence I've received thus far from neighbors have shared concerns about adverse sonic impacts, just the noise, the possibility that there could be a lot of noise in the neighborhood. What if anything have you done to mitigate potential adverse noise impacts, or why do you think that won't be that big of a concern?
Yeah, well, like I said, the way the pub used to operate, the jukebox was turned up very loud. I don't allow that jukebox to be turned up very loud at all. And a lot of my patrons now that come to the pub, they're really not into the jukebox. I turned it into more of a sports pub. So there's more going on as far as TVs and watching sporting events. And so that loud jukebox is not done. And again, with me being there now as the operator, not just the owner, I'm able to control that and be able to make sure that stays down in a reasonable aspect. I've also added cameras all over the building, both the theater and the pub, and we have that under observation, so that more things can be handled and control. I know some neighbors have. In fact, there's only really been one neighbor that has complained, and they live about 100 and some yards from the Twain exit entrance into the theater. There are 2 small speakers outside the theater entrance. Again, we're talking about the pub here, but the theater entrance has 2 speakers. And basically what happens is, before the movies, there is some background noise so that you're not just sitting in an auditorium with complete silence. And over the years, that music has gone from, classical to now I play mostly Gregorian chant, which is more of a soothing music kind of background thing where people can talk inside the auditorium and yet not be, hearing some sort of loud rock and roll or something like that. And that music plays outside. Obviously, right across the street from us is the firehouse, number 50. I check with all of them. I talk with them every day. They are not bothered by that at all. It's very low. You can really not hear it much unless you're kind of in right outside the entrance there. But there have been a few times, not really over the last couple of years, that Miss Feathers has called, and when she's called, I have turned that down. Sometimes my workers have it up a little bit louder. And we just turn that back down. There's a volume control, but it's the same volume as the inside as the outside to be able to just break up background music. And then, that is only on, by the way, when the movie is a half an hour from playing and then an hour from playing. Now, again, movies used to play a lot longer. I really only play about a movie a day. Maybe on a Friday or Saturday, I might do two. But so that music is really on when the theater's closed. That music is totally off, but I do keep that down, and I have also responded on that. One of the things about me and the community,
Mr. Miller, sorry to interrupt. If I could interject here just to make sure I'm clear about your testimony. Did you say that there are currently external speakers on the building?
There are two, small speakers outside.
Do you have an existing outdoor area? Or
no.
What's
it's
the
a
purpose
canopy.
of the external speakers?
It's a canopy above the door going into the theater. There's like a small canopy to keep out of the rain, and there are two small speakers in there.
Okay.
There's no outdoor seating. No, there's no outdoor at all. So when people are coming,
will there be additional outdoor speakers installed for the patio?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm talking about the existing for the theater side. Again, it's a separate business, but yes, I know people have brought that up in the comments. That's why I mentioned that, that they were, complaining about some of the sound coming out of the speakers with the theater, not with the pub.
Gotcha. So when the
Yeah,
patio is
okay.
open, the garage door will be open. Is that right?
The garage door could remain open, weather permitting, for some times, and then sometimes the garage door would be closed, of course, due to weather or closing or whatnot.
Okay. And what is the anticipated capacity of the outdoor patio?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of, eyeballing it. I think I could fit like maybe 3 or 4 round, small, 2-person cocktail tables.
Okay.
That's about it. That's all
Okay.
that really will fit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, code would only permit.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, Evan, give me 1 second. I don't have you checked in here. Didn't realize you were on the call. So Evan, are you able to join us with a camera?
I am. I'm not. I couldn't get that link to work.
Okay. Yeah. And Evan, you do want to provide testimony here today, is that right?
Yes, please, if need.
If needed.
Yeah.
Okay. Evan, I'll need to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Evan, would you like to add something?
Yeah, just what comment that code would only allow you 10 occupants for that little area at most. That's it.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I have. Mr. Miller, did you want to provide anything else?
No, I believe that is it. One of the other last comments is one of the few things that I do as a customer service to the community. I have my personal cell phone mounted on the wall of the theater. So I do respond to everybody. In fact, I'm the only one who answers that phone for the most part. And it's on both doors of the pub and the theater. So as a business owner, not too many businesses will put their personal cell on the building. It can be contacted at any time. So I am very much into customer service and the community, and I respond to the needs and the wants and complaints and issues and whatever that anybody would have.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, we will now go to public comment. This should be a similar order to how I checked everyone in. Mr. Miller and Mr. Eagle, I'll ask you to just hold off. I will give you an opportunity to respond to each of these comments. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll start with Mr. Hildebrandt, then we'll go to Ms. Kroger. Mr. Hildebrandt, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Evan Hildebrandt. I do live right across the street, close to the Parkland. I can walk out my front door, look to the right, and I see it there. I've lived here with my wife for over 18 years, and for most of those 18 years, I have not even went into the bar until Ed actually took it over. Multiple nights throughout the 18 years that I've lived here, having your windows open at night, you would often hear fights outside of the establishment. Many times I've had to call the police on, really people saying they have guns, etc. I mean, it was crazy. And ever since Ed has taken it over, we've not had that one time. I have started to go to the pub with my dad to watch soccer games, FC games. And there just has been really a great community feel. Every time I've gone in there, it's just been like people having a good time, very respectful. Ed doesn't allow like cursing and things like that in the bar. And I just think that that's a fun thing. He's got a little bell that he rings if someone curses. And, just for me, it has brought a lot of community orientation to the place. I mean, they have meetings in there for like the Oktoberfest. And it just feels more like a safe environment for the community. I feel like there's a vibe around the whole community right now that's just on the up. A lot of these restaurants, there's a lot of different restaurants opening around the whole community. And I just feel really good, a really great community vibe. And I think that, just over the years, I mean, it's easy to see Ed has put a lot of money and time into the establishment. And so, I'm personally all for this ordinance to pass. I would love to have a burger joint. He's planning on, making hamburgers, smash burgers. And I just think it would be a great thing for the community.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mr. Hildebrandt. Appreciate your time and your testimony here today. Okay. Going to go to Ms. Kroger and then to Leo Yakutis. Ms. Kroger, if you could unmute.
Yes. Well, I'm vehemently opposed to this. I live about 50 feet from where he's talking about putting a bunch of tables. In the past, they had a bench out. They had two benches out in front of the bar that had drunkards on them night and day, making a lot of noise and whooping it up and smoking. My neighbor next door on Twain Avenue said that he called it the drunken smoking lounge. So I have called 911 a few times on this establishment. One time, the most recent was I heard a gunshot and then someone came out of the bar and was talking about how someone had shot at him. And then a whole bunch of people came out of the bar and were making fun of him for being shot at. He was a black man. They were all white people. So I don't know whether it was race involved or what it was, but I did call 911 on that incident. The bar is always loud. It was loud on Sunday. They had a tent outside and chairs and tables and Bengals crap going on. And they were loud and yelling and carrying on outside. And then several days before that, they must have had the windows open in the bar and they were playing hillbilly music at 50,000 decibels. I don't know. I could hear the lyrics inside my house. So it was pretty loud. So this is a regular thing. This is a regular thing with them. They don't seem to care about anybody that lives anywhere near their establishment. They just want to make money. They park in my grass on my side yard and tear that all up. One time I had some pavers and I was going to make a little flower bed and they came and they just drove right over it and tore the hell out of it. I've found condoms in my yard. I've found needles in my yard. I found beer containers and Zima containers, you know, so it's whatever trash that they want to drop on their way out, you know, the drunkards. And his main customer group are people that want to get drunk cheap and want to get drunk fast. He puts an advertisement up on Hillside Avenue on his movie sign saying shots $3, shots $4. So this is the type of people that he's trying to get in there. People who want to drink heavily and want to drink fast and get smashed. That's his group of people that he's wanting in his bar. And that's my feeling about it. I have been here 23 years and I have seen a lot. So, you know, I am very opposed to this. He needs to keep his drunks inside his bar.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell me, Ms. Croker?
You know, other than me having to, you know, if they're going to have gunshots going on over there, I'd prefer they keep it inside the bar instead of out on the street 50 feet from my house. You know, I mean, it's only about 50 feet across there to his sidewalk that he's talking about. I know he's real happy about all the drunkards who are, you know, happy for him, but I'm not happy for him. My niece, my nephew was killed in a drunk driving accident, and my best friend's sister was brain damaged by a drunk driver. So I don't want a bunch of drunks driving around my house, quite frankly.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us and for your time and your testimony here today. Thank you, Ms. Croker.
Yep.
Okay. Going to move on to Leo Yakutis, and I'm assuming that the Fetters do not want to provide testimony here today since they were not sworn in. Go ahead and let me know if that's different, but we'll go to Mr. Yakutis, and then after that, Dennis Hickey.
Okay, thank you. In regard, I had a number of questions that I wanted answered. Those were answered by Matt and Evan, so I thank you very much. But in terms of providing testimony, 6568 Parkland is a residence that I own. I've used it as an office. My nephew currently lives there. From my patio to the bar area is 158 feet. So very close neighbor. Since the bar's management has changed hands, there have not been drunks. Ed has not allowed that. There have not been drunk drivers leaving. There have not been noise disturbances. The sports bar has been renovated. It is no longer a dive. It's an appropriate looking establishment as a sports bar for a neighborhood. Both my nephew and I are in support of what Ed is attempting to do to improve the property and the community. The bar area now, the sports bar, makes a positive impression where before it was a negative impression, which is the comments made on that are completely factual. It was disruptive previously. It is not disruptive currently. And it has been renovated to where it is not a dive smoky bar that was not following city ordinance. It's been brought into it. You bring a kid there, it's fine. Looking forward to smash burgers. Looking forward to outdoor seating. Enjoy the theater. There's some things Ed has said that seem to be polarizing the neighborhood. That seem to be carrying on over his baggage to this conversation. I've never had anything other than a positive interaction with him, and if there's ever been a comment, he's responded to it. So fully in favor of what he's done. My questions have been answered. Under the current management of the bar, there has been no disruption in the neighborhood that I have observed. And previously there had been, and the comments made to that effect, I believe, are an accurate representation to that point in time. And I thank you for allowing me to speak.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time, your testimony here today. All right, moving on to Mr. Hickey. And Mr. Hickey, before I take your testimony, I just wanted to clarify one thing. Are you speaking on behalf of the Sailor Park Community Council as a representative of that community council, or are you speaking on your individual behalf as a resident in Sailor Park?
as a member of council, and I was just here really just to observe, but
Okay.
I think it's important to point out that this issue, the zoning issue, was advertised by village council in the agenda. It was on social media. It's on the normal website for people that aren't on social media, that said that this was going to be presented last week. And I was absent. I was out of town on vacation. I know that Ed Miller spoke up, and my understanding, I was told that there was no opposition at the meeting. So we just, we don't really have a dog in this fight as far as council, but we just want to make sure. I want to make sure to be here to make sure that we hear what the neighbors think and where this goes. But other than that, I have nothing else to add.
Okay. And Mr. Hickey, sometimes community councils will take votes on particular applications that come in front of me, that sort of thing. Nothing like that happened with Sailor Park, correct? So it is just,
unless Leo can speak up to that, but I was absent. I know Leo was at the meeting and Ed, but I don't believe anything was put to an official vote.
There was no vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Hickey. All right. That's everyone from the public that I have signed up to speak. At this time, Mr. Fetters.
I would like to speak.
Okay. If you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Floor is yours.
I would just like to read a couple of paragraphs from the letter I sent you.
Sure.
And I think my main concern is noise. I'm a musician. I have a recording studio in my home. And I'm acutely aware of, I look at noise the same way I would look at it. Like if I had an open window and somebody was standing close blowing a cigar in my window, it's going to affect me. Sound travels that way too, through open windows. I've discovered when loud chanting is coming from the movie theater, I've had recording takes blown by that sound. The same thing happens if the truck's going down the road, but to have music played through small speakers. I mean, I've got some small speakers here that are very loud, so smallness doesn't really count anymore. The noise is a huge concern for me, for my life and my business. So in my letter I wrote, if the request is granted to change the longstanding zoning code for the street and neighborhood where my family lives by allowing, quote, a new eating and drinking establishment with outdoor dining and entertainment. That's something that hasn't been mentioned at this meeting. Is there going to be live music outside? Is there going to be speakers? If Ed sells the place, the zoning's changed, who makes the rules then? I'm trying to get a wider view than has been mentioned here. But if that happens, it'll fundamentally and negatively affect our family's quality of life and the value of our home, which is an 1885 Victorian we have lovingly maintained and paid for over the course of the last 25 years. I think I will agree that the new paint job and everything on the bar is better than the old one. But expanding it and turning into a restaurant, changing the zoning in our community, which as Evan has said, our community is growing. I think it's flowering. We do already have a business district on Gracely Avenue. That's where the other restaurants are. There's also parking there. The neighbors I've talked to are concerned about parking stretching in front of our house. Some of us have garages, some don't. Some of us have garages filled with stuff besides cars. So it's not a good thing, you know, and we didn't move here to be close to a residential district. Ed talked about other neighborhoods, Clifton, Hyde Park, that have these restaurants, but those places are zoned that way. It's, you know, we just spent a year in Brooklyn. Every restaurant has tables outside, but they're zoned for that. They're not tables outside restaurants in residential neighborhoods in Brooklyn.
Sure.
I don't trust, and I just want to say this. I just don't trust that this wonderful scenario that Ed painted will hold.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fetters. I appreciate your testimony and your time. I can address, I think it might be appropriate to address a couple of points you made. And one, this is, you know, somewhat semantics, but it is actually a big difference between a zone change and what he's asking for, a variance. This is an exception to the rules of the particular zoning district that exists. He's not asking us to change that zoning district, so, you know, everyone else around will still be in the same zoning district. He's simply asking for an exception to, in this case, 3 of the rules that exist in that zoning district. And another one of your points, this exception will run with the property. So if he were to sell or to change management again, these exceptions would be allowed to be maintained. So the patio would be able to stay if he were to sell it to someone else. So that is a consideration that I certainly do take account of. The last thing I'll note is that if this were to be approved, there are certain restrictions that I can place on granting that approval, including hours of operation of the outdoor patio and use of speakers outside of the property. So my understanding is that he's not asking for any additional entertainment. Mr. Miller, if you could just keep that in the back of your head when you do get to speak again and respond to some of these comments, if you could be very clear about what the intended use is and whether there will be any outdoor entertainment, any outdoor music, any outdoor speakers. But before that, I would like to go and give our zoning department an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to their staff report that they would like. So Mr. Lascheid, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, David. So we outlined what relief is requested already. I'll briefly go through the zoning code criteria for either approval or denial of those, and then our recommendation. The criteria for a use variance to allow a commercial business in a single family zoning district, there needs to be something unusual about the building or the property where it's not like other buildings in a single family district. Staff does feel that that's the case here. The building is, was built in 1881. It's a large theater building. It's not the same construction as a typical single family home. And with that, it would be difficult for the property owner, be it Mr. Miller or any other person who owns the property in the future, to put it to a productive, economically viable use that is permitted in this district. Single family districts are fairly restrictive in terms of how you can use property. You can generally only use it as a single family house. There's a few other things like churches and schools, rec centers that we can facilitate approval of, but typically in this district, the only thing that you would expect to see is a single family home. And we feel that, requiring that this building be used in that way is economically unfeasible for the property owner, be it Mr. Miller or a future property owner. And this condition is outside of the property owner's control. It was built in the 1800s before any of us were alive and before zoning as a concept even existed. So just to help put the building to some productive use, it probably will need a use variance like this. The conditional use approval to have an outdoor dining area in a residential area. I think that's something that we really need to look at in more detail. I did go out and visit the site. I walked around the neighborhood. I think that the noise is really the concern that's been raised here today, and something that I do empathize with. So we understand the need for restaurants to provide outdoor dining. This is something that's been more and more popular, and even within the last few years, necessary for restaurants to survive. So if a restaurant were located in a commercial district, it would be understood and expected that they may want an outdoor dining area. So for this restaurant to be competitive and successful, we're willing to recommend approval of the conditional use to allow an outdoor dining area here, but we are recommending a condition. I specifically outlined the city's noise ordinance in a recommended condition of approval. I think that this is something that needs to be followed and looked at closely. The application stated that there were no outdoor speakers and no outdoor entertainment. It may even be worth including a condition that remain indefinitely, that there not be any speakers or outdoor dining. I was not aware that there are already speakers outside on the building. I think if there are concerns from neighbors about noise, this may be something that we really need to look at, if those existing speakers are necessary and what purpose they serve, but that's not really what we're looking at today, but probably something worth considering. If we're hearing concern and opposition about noise, is it necessary that we have speakers outside when the application did not outline those? Lastly, the parking variance. Like I said, the building was built prior to the adoption of the zoning code and has operated for over 100 years. I don't believe that the increasing the square footage of 150 square feet, Mr. Eagle said there would only be few tables, so I don't think that would increase the parking need too much. So we are willing to recommend approval of the variance of the one additional parking space. So in summary, staff has done a lot of homework reviewing this. Like I said, we went out there, walked around the site, spoke with the applicant and the design professional. We are willing to recommend approval of the use variance, the conditional use, and the parking variance. With that, I really think it's worth considering the noise specifically, and I've outlined a condition of approval that the city's noise ordinance be followed. Any questions? I'm here to talk. Thanks.
Yeah, Matt, just a couple real quick. Is there a delineation between a business or commercial district and the surrounding neighborhood? And if so, where exactly does the theater fall on those lines? Because it looks really close to the business district. And
yeah, that's a very good question. It's a block away, I would say. Gracely Drive is the main Sailor Park business district, and it's 1 block east of there. But this is a sort of transitional area. It's not in the commercial district. It's not on the main street, but it's in a transitional area just outside of that where we see some multifamily. There's a fire station. Parcels away there's a coffee shop that's got some sidewalk seating. There's other businesses that already have either use of the sidewalk for their business or no on-site parking or some of the relief that's being requested here, just a block away. But yeah, this property is in a transitional area in between the neighborhood business district and a single family area.
Okay. And I think you may have just covered my second question, but other eating and drinking establishments in the vicinity that have any outdoor dining options or outdoor seating options?
Yeah, there is. Well, I know of one. When I went out there, I stopped at the coffee shop, and they've got some tables out on the sidewalk as well, a block west of here. And there's a hardware store that had some things out on the sidewalk, and other businesses in the area that have the same type of relief that's being requested here. But the difference is that they're in a commercial zoning district, and this is in a residential district.
Right. Okay. Great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate your time, your testimony, and your work on the staff report. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, this is your opportunity to respond to any of the public comment that you've heard, and also to make any other comments in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's no plans of any outdoor speakers, and we were aware of the noise variance. Again, I haven't had zero complaints filed on any of that. But yeah, with the outdoor seating, the intention is to be able to have folks that, a lot of walking of dogs and whatnot, to be able to sit with their dog and be outside and enjoying the weather. Oh, again, only when the weather's applicable. Obviously, it's going to be closed for most of the winter and whatnot, to allow that extra service, you would say, to the community, plus aesthetics. That wall is very ugly. That concrete stone wall with a broken air conditioner, I can't even get it out. It's stuck into the wall, is an eyesore. And, that'll also help even when the garage door is down, it'll aesthetically look pleasing, and it'll look nice. And I believe it'll improve the community there. As far as some of the people that we're talking about, some of the disturbances, like Leo said, that was definitely prior to March 10th when I reopened the establishment, and I took it over in December. So, there was a fire there. So really the last 2 years, the establishment has been actually closed for at least 13 of those months. So, and a lot of it was, renovation and getting everything cleaned up. And as, Evans had mentioned, before the bar was, was abused as much as far as smoking and loud people. We really haven't had none of that. So my intention is to keep the noise down, of course, to not be open late, and to follow all the rules like I always have. And like I said, there's been no complaints filed against me as the owner.
Okay. Real quick, I think I need to jump back to Matt real quick. I need a point of clarification. This garage, the proposed garage door, that does not involve any zoning approval via this process, correct? So he can install that regardless of my decision today
That's right.
and have it open regardless of my decision today. I mean, obviously subject to the noise ordinance that exists.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. And Mr. Miller, it looks like that the mark on the Twain Avenue side, I don't know if that's a marquee or an overhang there. You said that the speakers are installed, and it looks like it may have even came with some sort of electronics in it based on what I'm seeing. Did it come with the speakers? Is that why you have outdoor speakers there, or is that to attract business? I'm sort of heading back to that. Like, why is that? Why is it necessary to have outdoor speakers there?
Yeah, the intent was to attract customers while they're waiting in line or standing near to the building, to be able to have some background, just like sitting in an empty auditorium. That was the intent. It's not out there to do any type of entertainment or anything like that. It's just to basically break up the no noise. And again, it's only done when the theater is open. But that canopy has an electronic sign, like you mentioned. There is a sign in there, and it's currently not working yet. I have to get it fixed, but basically that sign will scroll with the show times. And it also provides overhang for the apartments. There's a door right next to the theater door. There's apartments, right? There's 3 apartments above the bar and theater. And the door for them is right there. And we built that so that when they're unlocking their door, getting in, or the tenants getting into the theater, that is built to shield them from rain if it's raining.
Sure. Certainly, I certainly understand that. That would make sense. But okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Miller, before we adjourn here today?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for their time and their testimony here today. I love Sailor Park. I think it's a great neighborhood. It's a real gem for Cincinnati. I have been out there, but I think it would make sense. Unlike the zoning department, I have not actually gone and done a site visit yet. So I think it might make sense for me to actually be on the ground to have a better understanding of the neighborhood and the surrounding area of this. So I will do that before I make a decision. When essentially what I do is I'll go out, do a site visit, come to a decision, I have to formalize that decision in a written approval, which will lay out sort of the whole rationale for why I'm approving or denying this particular project. And then I will put that into a PDF and I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all will have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. That decision, whether it's an approval or denial, is subject to an appeal. Anyone can appeal my decision within 30 days if they would like. There will be a notation at the bottom of the decision on how to do that. There will also, if it is approved, I'm already fairly confident that if I were to approve this, that there would be some significant conditions and restrictions placed on the use and the operation, including outdoor speakers and outdoor entertainment. And so in that decision, again, look towards the bottom of it to see exactly, if it is approved, what the conditions of that approval are. And I think that's it. Are there any questions about the process or any of the procedure or anything else before we wrap it up? Okay. If you do have additional questions that come up later, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any of those questions. I cannot take any additional testimony or evidence. So, unfortunately, if something pops in your head after this hearing, which I think is common, I can't consider that. I can only consider the evidence that I've received up to this hearing. So all the email correspondence will be considered as a part of the decision and included as a part of the record, and all the testimony here today. But unfortunately, after this hearing is adjourned, I will not be able to take any new evidence or testimony. So please don't send that to me, but I can answer questions about the process and procedure. Okay, great. We'll leave it there. Thank you all again. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Look for an email from me within the next 2 to 3